So this is your warm-up, and we're using the warm-up to start to mobilise the body, to mobilise the joints, to warm up the joints and the muscles and just get the blood moving from the body. We have a seated version and we have a standing version. So first things first, we're going to sit or stand nice and tall, little bit of engagement through your abdominal muscles, pull your belly button just slightly towards your spine, shoulders back, down and relaxed, nice and tall. And we're just going to start with a little march. So we're just going to start to march through those feet. Whatever pace works for you, whatever feels comfortable for you, just staying nice and tall, marching it through. If you're standing, you can hold onto your chair or a sturdy surface with both hands. You could hold on with one arm and let one arm swing through in time with your march. Or if you feel comfortable, you could go to a double arm swing. If we're seated, we can keep just the legs moving, or again, we can add in that little arm swing to start to mobilise through the shoulders a little bit. So we're just keeping that going, nice and steady, nice and smooth. We're just going to do 1 to 2 minutes, just keeping everything moving and starting to get all of those muscles and joints working as we want them to. So keep your pace. Keep it nice and tall. If you are standing at any point and you want to go back to holding onto the chair, that is absolutely fine. Again, as I said, it could be 2 arms, it could be 1 arm. It is entirely up to you. We don't want to be going too fast at this point. We want to be keeping it nice and smooth and nice and steady. It is just the warm-up. So just keep that going nice and tall. We're just going to keep going for another 10 seconds. 8, 6, 4, 3, 2 and 1. We're going to bring it down to a stop. So we're going to mobilise the shoulders next. So we're going to stay seated or stood nice and tall. We take the arms down by the sides, hanging nice and loose. We're going to bring the shoulders up towards the ears, push them back and then bring them down. So we're bringing them up towards the ears, taking them back and pushing them down. We want to make that movement as big as we can. We're going to do it 5 times. Back and down. So this is 4, lifting up, squeezing back, pushing down. 3, push back. You should be able to feel those shoulders starting to loosen up. The arms are just nice and long. We've just got one last one. Bring them up, push back and down. So we're going to move now to loosen up through our ankles. So we're just going to work one leg at a time. We're going to pop our heel down to the floor. We're then going to lift and we're going to tap our toe on exactly the same spot that our heel was. So we pop our heel down and tap the floor. We lift and tap our toe in the same spot. And we're going to do that 5 times. So we go heel down and toe. And we're really working through that ankle, getting that movement, loosening off that joint. Got 2 more on this foot. And your last one. And bring that foot in nice and flat. We're going to move on to the other side. So again, we've got a little lift. We pop that heel down. We pop the toe exactly where we lifted from. We swap out again for the heel and for the toe. And we're going to do that 5 times. So there's 1. Really thinking again of that movement. This is 3. And 2. And last one. And bring that foot in nice and flat. And your last exercise in this warm-up is going to be our spinal or trunk twist. So we're working the centre section of the body. So again, we are nice and tall. We're just going to fold the arms up if that feels comfortable. We're going to turn to one side, just as far as works for you. Bring it back to the centre and just pause. Turn to the opposite side. Bring it back to the centre and pause. So only go as far as works for you. So we're going to do 5 each way. Stopping at the centre every time. So this is 4. We've got 3 more. And your final 2. And just your last one each way. Just loosen up that spine. Bring it back into the middle, sit nice and tall, and we're ready for our main workout. Hello and welcome to the main section of this workout, which is your advanced strength and balance week. We're going to start this week with a front knee strengthener or a straight leg raise. So the seated version, we want our abdominal muscles in, our back nice and straight. We're going to be sitting nice and tall. Standing, we are standing nice and tall. Again, that little bit of engagement through our corner, back nice and straight. We're going to do 10 of the move on one leg, and then we're going to repeat and do 10 on the other leg. Seated, we are going to lift and squeeze the thigh muscle, toes pointing up towards the ceiling. Nice, slow and uncontrolled, just lifting and lowering. Standing is the same move. We're going to lift a nice straight leg, squeezing the thigh, slow and under control, then bringing it back to the floor. Again, use as much support as you need to. A wall or a worktop, absolutely fantastic for this move. So when we're ready, we're going to do 10 on one side. So we're going to squeeze that thigh, lifting that leg, lower slowly under control. So squeezing down into the thigh. So if we're seated, we want to make sure our toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. We keep the pace just nice and steady. Make sure whether we're seated or standing, we've got that engagement through the abdominal muscles. We're nice and tall. And we should feel that this is strengthening this front section of the leg. And this move again is really, really good for any pain that we have in the knee, for strengthening up that knee joint, keeping it nice and strong. We've got 4 more. So squeezing into that leg, making sure we're not wobbling from side to side, we're just really working into that one muscle. Final 2 on this side. And your final one. We're going to swap to the other leg. So when we're ready again, squeezing through that thigh, toes up. And if you have got some ankle weights, this would be a perfect exercise to do with an ankle weight on, especially this seated version. Standing is a little bit harder because we've got a long lever that we're lifting. But an ankle weight on to lift and squeeze through that thigh muscle would just give it a little bit more work. And again, thinking about doing it nice and slowly. We just have 3 more. It's nice and controlled, keeping this engagement, keeping nice and tall. And this is our final one. And bring it down. So our next exercise is our side hip strengthener or a side leg raise. And again, we're going to go for 10 on each side. So when you're doing the standing version, you could have both hands onto a support, or you could have one hand on support, and both options will be shown by Ruth in the back. We're going to do 10 on one side. If you're seated, you are going to tap out and tap back in, just opening up through this side hip. If you are standing, we're going to get the weight onto one leg, we're going to lift the other leg out to the side, so just taking it up and down, moving through the hip, keeping that move nice and steady. So nice and tall, abdominal muscles in, shoulders back and down, 10 on one side when you're ready. So I'm going to take it out and in. Just nice and steady, whatever pace works for you. Thinking about this side muscle in the leg. So especially if you're standing, you don't want to lift the leg forward or backwards. You want to really just take it out to the side, just as far as works for you. Bring your balance back onto both feet in the middle before you lift again. And again, use as much support as you need to. Do 3 more on that side. Remember, we're aiming for 10, but if you don't get to 10, it doesn't matter. Do as many as works for you. Let's do our last one here. and we're going to swap onto the other leg. So Ruth's going to swap to the position that shows if you're just using one hand on support. When we're ready, we're going to go back. So again, we're going to tap out and in. Or if we're standing, that leg lift to the side. And just nice and slow and controlled. We're really working into the hip joint, working into those muscles that go down the side of the leg. Just keep it nice and steady. And this move really goes strengthen up that side. So if you need to step sideways or if you need to lift the leg to get over a hurdle, over a step, up a pavement, etc., we've got that strength through the side of the hip. Let's have 3 more. So it's nice and smooth again. Just do as many as works for you. Don't worry if it's not the full 10. Last one, and bring it in. So our next move is going to work on your balance. It's going to be our toe raises. So weight is going into our heels and we're going to lift our toes up. So this one, if you are sat down, weight goes into your heels and we squeeze the front of the shin, we lift the toes and then we push down. If you're standing, get your balance nice and even, abdominals in nice and tall. We're going to lift the toes without pushing backwards through the bum. So staying nice and tall, lowering the toes under control. We're going to try for 10. Again, do as many as works for you. So when we're ready, we're going to lift the toes up and push them back down. So if we're seated, again, we're squeezing into the front of the shin, working the muscles down the front of the leg. If we're standing, we're not only working those muscles, we're also really working on our balance. This is quite an advanced move. And you want to really be making sure that we're not sticking the bottom out, we're keeping the hips slightly tucked under, we're taking that engagement through the core, making that work for us. And we're keeping it really nice and controlled. So again, use support as much as you need to. Again, whether that's 2 hands or just a single hand, it doesn't matter. Let's just have 2 more. Lifting up and down. A final one. Up and down. Bring it down. You will find that usually this muscle tires quite quickly, so it's quite a big move. So our next move is going to be some heel walking, which is where we're going to come right up onto our toes. Sorry, toe walking. We're going to come right up onto our toes. So you're just going to move to make sure you've got some distance to travel. Again, use support as you need to, a wall or a worktop. If we're seated, we're going to lift our heels up onto our toes and we're going to step forward, forward, back and back. If we're standing, we're going to come up onto our toes, lifting those heels nice and tall, looking forward, and we're just going to slow and steadily take some steps forward. As we get to the end point, we're going to lower the heels down to the floor, bring the feet nice and level before we turn ourselves around towards our support, and we'll be ready to take ourselves back in the opposite direction. So lifting up, I'm going to take those steps forward, squeezing into that calf muscle, keep looking ahead. Remember, we never want to look at our feet. We want to be looking nice and straight forward. This is a great one for working on your balance. Remember, whenever we go for that turn, we're bringing the feet level. We're just going to go once more each way. And again, just do what works for you. If we're seated, we're just taking that little step forward and that little step back. We're still squeezing into those calf muscles at the back of the leg. We'll build up to doing that little walk. It may even be that in a couple of weeks, you can just do it at the back of your chair, just 1 step forward and 1 step backwards. Just keep that going. And when we get to the end, just bringing those heels down and just standing it nice and tall. Our next move is the opposite of that move. So we're going to walk this time on our heels. So we're going to lift up the toes, make sure the bum is not sticking out. This one takes a little bit of balance, and again, seated, we're just going to step it forward and back. If we're standing, lifting up those toes, and we're going to start to walk it forward. Make sure it's really nice, slow and controlled. You may find you want to go a little bit too fast on this one, and you've got to just ease it back a little bit to keep it under control. Same thing goes whenever you turn round, you bring the feet back nice and level, you turn towards your support and you take it back in the opposite way. And again, that seated position, we're squeezing into the front of the shin. We're just going to do one more each way. So make sure you're under control, toes are lifted, squeezing the front of the shin. Nice, slow, we're looking ahead again, remember, we're not looking at the feet. We're using the leg muscles, using the core, using the muscles in the back and in the glutes to keep our balance, keep us nice and tall. So we don't need to look at the feet, we know what they're doing. And that's it, and then when we get to the end, we're just going to bring it down nice and steady. And that is a big move, it requires a lot of concentration. The next move we're going to do is our sideways walking. So again, on this one, if you are standing, you could either turn and face your support and have both hands, or you could not be facing the support and you could do it without the support, but the support would just be behind you, so you could tap your bum onto it if you did need it. If you're seated, we're going to step to the side, and together, side and together. Standing, we're going to move down, step into the side, bringing the feet together, step into the side, bringing the feet together. And again, just move as far as works for you, at a pace that's nice and slow and controlled. Try this move without support if you feel like you can do, or even just your very, very fingertips onto whatever support you are using. Make sure we know where the foot has gone. Again, we're looking ahead, we're not looking at the feet. We're keeping it nice and smooth, nice and steady. And we just make sure we have the feet back together and take it back to our starting point. Just bring it nice and smooth. And your final exercise on this is our sit to stand, or if you are standing you wish to do a squat, do a squat. And again, you could do the squats in standing with no support, with one hand support, or with double support on the hands, and Ruth will show all three of those. Sit to stand, bring the heels slightly back in, use the chair if you need to. If you don't need to, that's fine. We're going to aim for about 10, do as many as works for you. So nice and strong, we're going to push up, work out where the back of the chair is and sit yourselves back down. On your squat, we're sitting it down as if the chair was behind us, pushing strongly back through the legs. And again, you have your options of support. Do what works for you. Make sure we push strongly into the heels, squeeze into the quads in the front of the thigh, lower under control. If you wanted to fold the arms, we'll make it work a little bit harder if that is okay with you. Always make sure we feel for the back of the chair so we know where it is as we are sitting back down. Just nice and steady, feel for the chair if you need to. Let's have two more. Nice and tall. And your final one. Bring it down. Seated or standing, you are ready for your cool down. So now we've got to the cool down. So the cool down is used to start to lower our heart rate, to start to ease out all the muscles in the joints we've been working, and we do incorporate 3 stretches as well into this section. So we're just going to start off with our little march, so sitting or standing nice and tall, a little bit of engagement through the abdominals, nice straight back, shoulders back and down. Let's just march it through. So we're going to march for about a minute, and we just want a really nice steady pace. So we're starting to bring everything down, so feel free to just let the arms hang. They might have a nice gentle swing. Just nice and steady, nice and smooth, starting to bring the breathing back a little bit slower. We're just starting to ease everything through, slowing the pace down if you wish to. Just really nice and steady, letting everything start to relax. That's it, just keeping it nice and smooth. slowing down slightly as we need to, bringing the heart rate back down. That's it. So we're just going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, and bring it down to that stop. So we're going to go to 3 stretches now just to stretch out those muscles, and the first of those stretches is going to be our back of thigh stretch. So I want you to move slightly forward on your chair so you're on the front section of your chair. If you're standing, we're standing nice and tall. We're going to take one leg straight out in front, heel down, toes up. Nice straight leg, sitting nice and tall. Both hands going to go onto your bent leg. We're going to take a little lean forward from the hips, keeping the back nice and straight, keeping the leg nice and straight. We should feel that stretch in the hamstring, in the back of the leg. We're just going to hold there just for a couple more seconds. Then nice and slowly just bring yourself back up nice and tall. Bring that leg in. Swap to the opposite side. So taking that leg out, heel down, toes up, leg nice and straight, sitting nice and tall or standing nice and tall. Both hands onto our bent leg. Hinge forward from your hips. So nice straight back, nice straight leg. Just holding it there again, feeling that stretch down the back. And nice and slowly bring it up, bring that leg in. Our next stretch is going to be the chest stretch. We're stretching across the chest area. So we're just going to sit in again away from the back of the chair or standing nice and tall. Take the hands either onto the hips, the small of the back, or if you are on the chair, taking a hold of the back of the chair. We're just going to take a little stretch forward in the chest. Just a little gentle easing back of the shoulders. Making sure we feel comfortable, just stretching through those chest muscles, using either that chair, the small of the back, just to help that stretch out. Just a couple more seconds. Nice and slowly release it back out. We're going to go to our last stretch, which is our calf stretch, so stretching into the back of the leg. So for a seated version, we're going to take just one leg out in front nice and straight. For a standing version, we're going to step one leg forward and one leg back. We're going to press down into the back heel, really stretch into that calf. Seated, we're going to pull the toes towards you. Feel as if you're getting that little bit of stretch into that calf. So just holding it there just for a couple of seconds. And then release that side out. Onto the other side, so seated, we're taking it out, standing, the other foot forward and back, pressing down into the back heel if we're standing, little lean forward onto the front leg, pulling the toes towards us if we are seated. Just hold it there just for a couple of seconds. And nice and slowly bring it back up. Just give everything a little shake out. And you are all completed. Thank you very much.